Hey guys!
Welcome back. Today we're going to tell you all about the most challenging aspects of living on a boat.
We absolutely love living on a boat, don't get us wrong. It took us a while to put a list together.
None of the reasons in here would be a deal breaker for us. I think we've only really got one issue that we think might put people off, but the rest of them, more just to be aware of, compromises that you might have to make living on a boat.
So if you guys new here, we live on a 62-foot narrowboat. We're continuously cruising, so we move the boat every few days or a few weeks. We live in a new spot, and we've been on a boat for a year and a half now.
Ultimately, living on a boat is amazing, and we'd highly recommend anyone who's considering doing it. Whatever your background, whatever your age, we think narrow boating and boating inland waterways in the UK is the most accessible form of boating. Number one on the list, and I think this is actually the only one that is the worst thing about living on the boat, is, can you guess? The toilet. Yep, it's the toilet. There are many different types of toilet. We've got a compost loo, so arguably it's the most convenient. It doesn't dictate sort of when we're moving or where we're moving to. If you had like an Elsan or pump out, very much sort of dictate that. So it's good in that regard. Doesn't smell, eco-friendly, cost effective.
Yeah. Don't
have to have blue chemicals or tanks that leak and take up space. But emptying it is the worst thing. I think whenever you move onto a boat, be prepared to deal with your own shit. It is a shit job.
So the next point is you need to be organized. Living off grid, you will be filling up the tank with water and using up that water, running engine to create electricity and some solar as well, but most of the time you will be running the engine, you will be using diesel, gas, and taking your waste somewhere, so bins and toilet waste. Therefore, you need to be organized with where you're going, where you're staying, how long you're staying there for, where you're getting water, where you're emptying your toilet. Like, we don't need to worry about that, but some people do.
I think ultimately you get used to how much you use. So we know our water tank lasts just over 2 weeks. So we know every 2 weeks when we have to move the boat anyway, water is always on that list.
And also that might stop you from having long showers. If you're used to really nice long showers, especially in the winter, you're not going to get those. Another quick thing, there is a rule for boaters. You can only run your engine between 8 AM and 8 PM, so you need to watch your electricity consumption. If you're working late, you can't just turn up at 10 PM and run your engine to get electricity or charge your batteries, so that's another thing to worry about. Equally, if you're going away for 2 weeks, you can't just leave the boat. You can leave it for a few days without draining the batteries, but not charging batteries for a long time will deplete their health. We normally get a friend in every few days to come in and run the engine for us.
What's the longest we've left the boat on its own for?
4 days. We went to a festival.
Next on the list is waste. Now we've talked about this waste is normally like the bins on the canal, or even worse on the river. Trying to find facilities, again, every 2 weeks when you do your water and you have to move, tie in a facilities day. It's going to take you a day to move the boat if you are doing all your chores. Yeah, finding bins that boaters can use, and the worst part about it is most places don't have recycling. So luckily in our bow we keep all of our recycling there in the well deck, with the bikes outside, out of mind, but we can have like a month and a half worth of recycling there. I mean, we tend to use supermarkets if they've got them, big supermarkets.
We do. Recycling is important to us, that's why we go into these lengths. Obviously not everyone have this value. The next point on the list is downsizing.
When we were thinking about moving on to a boat, we thought we were going to have to downsize more.
We did.
So we were actually really surprised. Like as Marina says, we've got a 62-foot narrow boat with 1 bedroom. So probably when this was built, it might have had 2 bedrooms or more. But having 1 bedroom and all that space has been good. So we didn't have to downsize much. It's keeping what you have tidy as well, because it's a very small space. So all of a sudden you take your keys and wallet and phone out, it can feel a mess quite quickly. So you have to be tidy and organised in that regard. So the next one on our list is probably the reason most of you who are watching who haven't yet got a boat has put you guys off, is random boat issues. Just a caveat, before we moved on board we knew nothing about engines, electricity, solar,
Inverters.
or much about anything in general.
We just didn't know anything.
And nor do you need to. There's always a boat group with people with a lot of good advice and opinions, who can point you in the direction of what you need to know. I mean, just take a photo of a pump, they'll know what make, what year, so you don't really need to know anything. You do learn naturally things over time, so how your batteries work, keeping them healthy, but you know, with a boat stuff does go wrong, and I would say in general on a narrow boat people scare you as well with the price of stuff. It's nothing more expensive than getting a plumber or an electrician round to your house because you've got a leaky bathroom or the lights have gone off somewhere. You know, every time something does go wrong, you have many first timers. So first time the engine doesn't work, first time you get flat batteries, first time your inverter bleeps at you, first and long time that the shower isn't working.
Our boat is almost 30 years old, so we're naturally experiencing a little bit more of these issues. You might get a brand new boat or a boat that is a lot newer, then you might not have these issues at all.
And I want to caveat that doesn't always mean buying a new boat you won't get issues. We have met a number of brand new boat owners who have bought boats that everything, absolutely everything that could go wrong has gone wrong for them. Now I can think of two people that we've met that's happened to. Buying an older boat doesn't mean you're buying a bunch of problems either. Every boat is different. Every boat is built by an individual at a different time. They're all bespoke and they've been added to years upon years upon years as well. So, you know, it's really hard to say, but buying a new boat does not mean you're going to be problem free. To be honest, I don't think we've had many problems.
No, we haven't. We've been really lucky. The next point is not having an address.
So not having an address, people always ask, what's it like not having an address? And I always turn around and say, well, you only get bills posted to you, so you can live without those. But in reality, not having an address, particularly this year, has shown how challenging it is. Usually get stuff delivered to work, but 2020, the year of online deliveries, you have to be a bit more organised and find out where to get stuff delivered to.
First of all, we do have an address. We just use our family or friends' addresses for the time being. What we know is that through CRT you can apply for a postal address. You don't have to be addressless. You can't do it. And in terms of deliveries, you can deliver to a local post office, Amazon lockers. The next one on the list is public places. So living on a boat, most of the time you're going to be near the towpath, and as you noticed just now, there is always someone walking by. Especially at the beginning for me personally, when we were in central London, living basically on a towpath was slightly challenging. It took me over a month to get used to it. When you're cooking your dinner and everyone walks by and looks in the window, so you've got to find a way how you're going to do it. Perhaps you're going to have your curtains closed, but after a while I personally just don't care anymore.
Yeah, I think at first one of the big things you noticed was just how public the spaces that you're living in are. But yeah, it does take a couple of months to get used to. So we always have our curtains closed on the towpath side and open on the other side. That's quite nice. If you're in a city, you're going to expect to hear noise and people walking around. I mean, on the whole, it's been fine.
It's not a big deal.
At night, in winter, cyclists cycling by and the lights coming in your window. It takes some getting used to, but you do get used to it.
The next challenge is cold. Sometimes in winter it can be cold in a boat. So we're really lucky because we have two sources of heating. We have a 5 kilowatt multi-fuel stove that we can use gas and wood in. And we also have diesel heating that we can set timer on 3 times a day if we want to. That comes on an hour before we wake up, so it's warm enough to walk around, have a shower.
So when we moved onto the boat, people had said, you know, it could be cold in the winter. And this was a little bit of a worry for us, particularly running into our first winter. But actually, we were quite surprised. Now, our boat does have insulation, And then yeah, we have two forms of heating. I would highly recommend investing in a good pair of slippers, because particularly the floor is below the waterline, so it's a metal boat sat in water in winter. It's always going to be cold at that level, but if you've got a good pair of slippers and guest slippers, you keep your feet toasty and it's absolutely fine.
And the last main point on the list is safety. Being so close to towpath and public spaces, you can have lots of people walking around, but this also means that all the stuff that you've got outside is in public space and it's really within reach of anyone. When we were in London, we had quite a few plants stolen, some garden furniture, a few bits and bobs. Nothing that we have outside really have any value. We make stuff ourselves, like this bench.
Everything we've got has been upcycled, really.
Yeah.
So nothing outside has any monetary value other than just the value it serves to us. But yeah, we've had quite a few plants get nicked. When we were away for Christmas, on Christmas Day, someone took all the roof furniture and stuff like that. We've not had any issues like breaking in or anything like that, but when your plants do get nicked, you do feel quite violated that someone's been on the boat. We thought it'd be worthwhile mentioning challenges that we don't have, but you might have when deciding to live on a boat. So the first one is the fridge. Quite a lot of boats don't have fridges. You need a 12 volt fridge as well, so it runs straight off of your batteries. There's a needing 24 volt as well, but we couldn't live without our fridge. It's not a sacrifice I think we were willing
Not really.
to make, but quite a few people do it. Check the height of the boat you're buying. If you're short, you might not need to think about it, but then when all your tall friends come over and they're like this, can be quite funny. I went to go see a boat that was 5'11" inches tall, and I'm 5'11" and a half, and all of a sudden it just changes the whole dynamic of the space. So our head height is about 6'2" on the boat, so we've got plenty of room inside. Type of toilet, as we've mentioned before, there's many different types of toilet. If you've got a cassette toilet, regarding on how many people are living aboard and how often you're using it, you know, you might, and how many you've got, you might have to empty that a bit more regularly than 2 weeks when you might be doing the water. If you've got a pump out, you've got a tank to empty, and that will dictate where you move to on your moving weekends. And quite often we've heard, because we don't use them, that they get blocked or become out of service. So, you know, if you've spent all day getting there, you might have to spend another day getting somewhere else. So don't leave it too late, folks. Some boats have a small water tank. Now, to be honest, we have no idea how big our water tank is.
No.
We just know it lasts just over 2 weeks. Our first week of living on a boat, it ran out in a week, so you get used to that. Some boats have to fill up their water tank every week or every 10 days. You know, we'd highly recommend having a boat where it's at least 2 weeks, so when you're doing your continuous move and other boat jobs, you can tick that one off, and then rather than making special trips. And then finally, some boats don't have an inverter. An inverter, I hear you say, what is an inverter? Well, this takes your battery charge and turns it into mains electricity voltage, 240 volts. So it means you can use most of your appliances or electrical gadgets that you had at home. Again, depending on the size of the inverter will depend on how powerful gadgets you can use on board. Ours is 3000 watts, something like that. It begins with a 3, it's the big one. So we can use most things. We've got a blender, Hoover. Well, ours is a chargeable cordless Hoover. Get a cordless Hoover.
You will need it.
They are epic. Some boats don't have them, and they rely solely on 12 volt, which does power your lights, water pump, fridge. Then you have, like what you have in a car, a cigarette lighter sort of charger for your USB gadgets. But some boats just have this.
And the last section, a very, very small challenges that I thought I'll just mention. You will need to get friendly with spiders. On a boat, you are living in nature. There are insects around, so naturally there will be spiders around too.
So when at night you've got the hatch open and
The
you're
light
eating
is on.
outside and you've got the light on outside, when you get in you can find, oh my gosh, there are so many bugs in here. So we have found our balance with spiders. Spiders are your friends. We tend to not kick out all of the spiders, particularly the ones that have got webs by the open windows, because they can catch all the bugs that are coming in.
Another thing that might be important to you is keeping up the exercise routine. If you are a continuous cruiser, you will be moving a lot. you will need to adapt your running routine. Maybe you would need to have a gym membership that allows you to go to separate gyms all over the country. And sometimes if you don't know where you need to go, or you're moored next to a place that doesn't have a visible towpath that might be overgrown, you might find it difficult to keep up the exercise routine. It's really important for me. It really contributes to my health and mental health. Sometimes it is challenging to be consistent because you're constantly moving, you don't know where you are.
So that's it, folks. Hope we haven't put you off. Like we said, all of these things are so minor and become part of your daily routine that you don't even notice them. Hope you enjoyed watching it, and hope we haven't scared you off. We'd like to see you out on the water.
Why are you laughing?
The geese are ruining the video.
I hope you guys found this useful. If you have any more questions, leave them down below. Subscribe if you want to see more videos. Click the notification bell so you can be the first one to know when the new one is out. Gosh. I hope the geese didn't ruin the video and you enjoyed all the nature sounds. It's pretty authentic.
See you in the next one.
See you in the next one.
Keep on cruising.
Bye.
To make this video concise, we had to leave out quite a few boat stories. If you want to see the full version, check out our Patreon page for the extended 24-minute cut. Thanks guys!